in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, this is Tom Waddle, worn out former Chicago Bears wide receiver, and you are listening to Greg Bragg's in the Stands.
Start the kid. Start the kid. Let's go. Time to talk.
With the Bears, they started this new tradition last year where they celebrate their wins the correct way.
Waddle and Sylvie, ESPN 1000, don't miss it.
I know what you mean.
It's like their own Philly.
Okay. Okay, I think what it is.
We shouldn't be showing this. Am I crazy?
What a great sign that is. What have I told you? 17 minutes of rain would wash away 108 years of drought.
Do you see this team growing into the team that you were in 2005?
Great practice, everybody.
Ridiculous.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I am ridiculous. I am doing a live show after that beatdown from the Rams to the Bears. That's right. I should have gone to sleep, but I just couldn't help myself after seeing what we saw here. Week 1, out the gates. Meet the new Bears, same as the old Bears. While we got this kid on the bench just waiting to come in, and it kills me. We talking a lot about it on Twitter, here tonight, and obviously been beating our heads against the wall this whole off season and training camp. Eric just getting home. He was over here at the party. That's why we started so late tonight. I had to clean up, had to get everything organized in the garage. Had a lot of friends over here tonight, and we had a lot of quality discussions about how this should play out. And I'm glad you got home safely, safe and sound, Eric. Had a lot of fun with you. But no, I could not go to sleep. And shout out to Brandon. You saw the video we just played. These were some of the videos he captured, as the game was going on. Justin Fields' first ever touchdown. Pretty cool moment for him to capture. Certainly wish I could have been the one to get it behind the camera lens, but it was done in LA. It was meant to be, and here it was. The moment we've all been waiting for, Justin Fields, would he get snaps, tonight, week 1? A lot of people doubted it. I did not personally. I mean, to me, Justin Fields should be starting. So at the very least, he should have a package of plays, presented to him. He earned that in the preseason and training camp, showing how ahead of the curve he is. And, that's exactly what he got tonight. He got some red zone plays. They had him do an end around, a shovel pass, which I don't see the point of. Didn't really get to see him throw the ball, which I guess is step 2. Maybe we'll see that next week. But you can just see how energized the team was. As we were about to bring on our guest. I'll show you the video Brandon shared from the stands. I always appreciate people that are on the road. Braggs is in the stands on home games. I try to get to the road games. I had some, fans of the show invite me out to LA to come see this game, but I can't take too many vacations. I just got back from Vegas, so only so many vacations for Gregory Bragg. So shout out to Brandon here, a loyal viewer to the show. And here's the reaction after the Justin Fields' first career touchdown. Pretty cool stuff you hear. I'm assuming is Brandon getting all fired up in the background, screaming, "Let's go." And then you got Cole Kmet pumping his fist, and you got Matt Nagy, giving, Justin Fields some words as he comes off the field. And, for me, just as a fan, this is frustrating to watch because we can talk about the defense. We can talk about the play calling, all this crap. But to me, until you play your best players, none of it matters. And Justin Fields is the best player for the quarterback position on this team. Is he green behind the ears? Sure. Is he going to make mistakes? Sure. But I'm willing to live with those mistakes. If they're going to lose 34-14, then I'd rather them do that with Justin Fields in there, learning how to play this game with the live bullets, learning what windows to throw in, learning what angles he can take when he's running outside the pocket. I don't see much of a point sitting on the sidelines. That's the old school way of thinking in the NFL. These guys, have to get out there to learn. You hear that from many players. And I understand you're going to hear it both ways, and I can understand the reasoning behind it. But to me, Andy Dalton playing week 1 and the Bears losing 34-14 is a complete waste of time. Andy Dalton is not the future of this franchise. And so now the clock is ticking because if they lose next week, to me, that is time to pull the plug. If it's going to be the exact same outcome we have that we saw tonight next week, then there's no point in carrying this charade on. So, to me, there's a lot to discuss with a lot of different things. Eddie Jackson not touching the guy, and he walks into the end zone right after Andy Dalton turns the ball over. Couldn't have been a worse start for the Chicago Bears. But to me, it just all comes back to the quarterback. And it's play the kid. And, we're talking ad nauseum about this tonight. It's all that mattered. And it just seems like, and there's no way the players on the team don't see this too and don't feel this. Now the defense is going to get dragged through the street this week. And they, in a 1-score game, a couple of times they gave up touchdowns. But at the end of the day, and we talked about this when Mitch was the quarterback, and it was okay to say this when Mitch was the quarterback. But when Mitch was the quarterback, they had the same problem. The defense, only could do so much, but nobody was blaming the defense for the losses. Everyone was saying, well, if they had a better quarterback and they were able to get some leads, maybe the defense could play a little better. They're demoralized. You can roll out all the excuses you want. They don't deserve many. They're professional athletes and they should be able to get stops. But at the end of the day, when your head coach isn't putting the best player out there for your team to win, it's not very inspiring. And I can guarantee when Justin Fields gets in, the team will play more inspired football. And if they don't, then we can have a different discussion about, how the defense is playing and things like that. I understand everyone's going to be mad at Eddie Jackson tonight. I get it. He gets paid a lot of money, and he can only use the quarterback excuse so much. You saw when the Bears drafted Justin Fields, he went live on IG, and he goes, finally, we got a quarterback. And that's fine, but you still got to make your tackles too. And I know he understands that, but to me, it's only human nature when your team marches down the field. David Montgomery, first drive of the game, beautiful run, makes his cutback. They're in the red zone, ready to score. Justin Fields comes in on second down, and then all of a sudden, 3rd and 1, Matt Nagy pulls them out of the game. They get a false start, and then Andy Dalton turns the ball over in the end zone. How demoralizing for a team. And I get it's an excuse by definition, but it's human nature. It is demoralizing. And then what do the Rams do? They go back the other way and score a touchdown, and here we go again. Meet the new Bears, same as the old Bears. And to me, the flash in the pan, the thing that's going to shake it up is a quarterback that brings you different dimensions. And a guy that can get out of the pocket, challenge a cornerback, make him come up and decide if he's going to try to tackle the quarterback or not, and then he throws it over the guy's head. Andy Dalton did not have one pass over 15 yards and only 3 over 10 tonight. Any other quarterback does that, we're wringing our fists. But I'm hearing people in the national media and on Twitter saying he had a good game. Get out of here. I don't care about time of possession. I don't. They were allowing all those dink and dunks, in front of them. They weren't letting anything behind them. Anybody can make those passes. And it absolutely changes it. And, at the end of the day, if the defense isn't good enough, then at least Justin Fields is getting snaps and getting comfortable playing at the NFL level. It just doesn't make any sense to me personally, and there's no way you can slice it up. Whether they're good or bad defensively, Justin Fields should be in there getting as many reps as he possibly can. He should have got first-team reps at camp or in the preseason. He did not. Now all of a sudden he's getting reps with the first team in the regular season. If he was going to get snaps in the first game of the year, why wouldn't you have him getting reps in the preseason with the first team? Doesn't make sense to me personally, but I'm just a fan in the stands. So we're bringing out another fan in the stands and a fan of this show. His name is Stephen Nageshi. How are we doing tonight, Stephen? Another tough game. We take it on the chin on primetime TV, Sunday Night Football to start the year. It's not the Packers this time, but it's the LA Rams who we've lost to here, in the last couple of years. So, it's nothing we're not used to or, obviously nothing that we haven't seen before, but still disappointing all the same. What are your overall thoughts here as we get the conversation going?
Well, first of all, good evening, good morning. And I got to tell you, it demoralizes me watching Sean McVay's schools, Matt Nagy, the last 3 years. It seems like the gap between two guys and the team just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And what I saw today from start to finish was basically the Rams are doing what the Bears want to do, but can't do well at all. You talked about the possession, and I totally agree. It means nothing, okay? I'm a soccer fan as well. So time of possession and the possession of the percentage of the ball being possessed in the soccer terms, it absolutely means nada. It's overrated. You have to score a goal. Both sports, while completely different, one thing in common is you have to score a goal or touchdown to win ball games.
Yep.
Okay? It doesn't matter. The Rams, went down the field after the Bears had scored a touchdown, where the Bears had to spend 7, 8, or even 9 minutes just to dink and dunk their way into the end zone, where the Rams, partly due to the Bears' defensive breakdown, can throw the ball 50, 60 yards, and they can score a touchdown easily. And this is somewhat contradictory to what Matt Nagy has been saying. He wants more explosive plays. And I tweeted out tonight that, is this what Matt Nagy really, really wants? Somebody who can run his system efficiently? Is this just basically somebody to run his system efficiently to satisfy his own fucking ego? This is what I'm really confused with. It's just it just baffles me that a guy like Andy Dalton, listen, he is what he is. We all know that. What we saw tonight is it's equivalent to what we have seen him since he came into the league for a decade. He's not going to change who he is. He's an efficient quarterback. He's not going to push the ball downfield. And right. I think it's highly criminal that you bring in Justin Fields for some weird-ass wildcat toss and just one fucking pass that was probably the longest pass that he completed at that point. And I got to tell you right now, Dalton's leash just got shorter.
It should.
Yep.
Only stands the reason.
There's no reason. Dalton is what he is, like I said. He doesn't inspire anybody. He doesn't inspire his teammates, the fan base. He doesn't do anything. And I really believe that Matt Nagy's seat just got hotter tonight.
It's eye of the beholder, because it probably does in the eyes of the media and the fans, but all that matters at the end of the day is the seat getting hotter in the eyes of George McCaskey. Now, I do believe last year he came close to letting go of Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. And they made the playoffs, and, George said, the easy thing would have been to just wipe it all away. The hard thing was to dig his feet in the dirt and stick with them guys, and that's what he chose to do. And we all disagreed with that as they had their collaboration, presser after the season. But then when they drafted Justin Fields, all of a sudden, things turned. We all started to be like, okay, maybe you got something here. And maybe at the time, maybe some fans could buy into the idea that Justin Fields should wait and sit like other quarterbacks have, not just Mahomes. There's been other quarterbacks to sit and wait their turn. Yeah. I can understand the reasoning behind that. But as I always told Chubbs, who's in the chat, at the time I wasn't all in to start Justin Fields to start the year because I wanted to see what he had in the preseason and training camp. But once you saw it, it's as clear as day. He's playing with second teamers. I heard Jeff Dickerson say on ESPN with us, well, he didn't blow us away at camp. Well, he certainly did much better than Andy Dalton in my eyes when you understand the context of how it was done. Andy Dalton's getting all first-team reps with Darnell Mooney, Allen Robinson, Cole Kmet, Marquise Goodwin, David Montgomery in the backfield. Justin Fields is getting reps with backups, guys that aren't even on the team anymore, guys that are on the practice squad, getting John Vea Johnson and Rodney Adams jobs. If not for Justin Fields being a second string quarterback, those guys might not make the team. He got those guys looking much better than maybe they would if it was a different backup quarterback playing in that position. And
that's what confuses me about Nagy and why he pulled that off to begin with. You and I were there on the very first preseason game against the Dolphins. When he came in, he electrified the entire stadium.
Electric.
And he did everything he did with his feet and his throwing. It was just night and day. He brought the energy like it was a regular season game. You and I were there, and we both talked about it. We both felt it. It was completely an incredible experience.
Yep. And you saw how he pressed the defense.
Right.
It wasn't just the run for a touchdown, which you saw tonight, which he had against the Dolphins in the preseason, a longer run. It was the plays where he rolls out of the pocket and the cornerback has to advance on Fields because of the threat of his legs. And then Justin Fields keeps his eyes downfield and throws it over the cornerback's head to Rodney Adams. You saw it in the next preseason game where at the end of the half, was it against the Bills? Not the Bills, whoever their third.
The Titans.
The Titans. He keeps his eyes downfield at the end of the half, throws a dime to Jesper Horsted.
Yeah,
and
that was a hell of a touchdown.
That's the kind of throw that Andy Dalton cannot make.
Right.
You get into the red zone, all your chances is David Montgomery ground and pound into the end zone, or if somehow they throw something underneath to Allen Robinson or Darnell Mooney and they break a tackle and get in. You're not threading the needle because all the defense is going to do is stand back and let everything be in front of them and safety net all the way across the board on the red zone. That's all they're going to do. It's I'm no, film expert. It's just obvious. Any simpleton can see this. That the numbers are right in front of you. They don't throw for over 10 yards for a reason. The defense is allowing that. I heard on the football after show.
It's efficient.
I'm hearing on the football after show on NBC Sports Chicago with David Kaplan and Alex Brown and these guys talking. They're saying, well, let Justin Fields be the red zone quarterback. And every time you get in the red zone, just let him be the quarterback. Well, if that's the case, just let him be the quarterback, period. I mean, this is a silly charade to me. It makes no sense. And everyone can see it. And if everyone can see it, then the players can see it too. And when Mike Glennon was the starter, there was friction. There's a GIF somebody shared earlier this week where Akeem Hicks shoved Mike Glennon out of the way at one point when they were coming off the sidelines. So if you don't think that these guys are going home right now and saying to their wives or their significant others or their friends, like, man, fuck this shit, put the kid in. I guarantee there's more than a handful that are. Does that mean it's going to solve all their problems? Is that going to make Eddie Jackson get that tackle? No. But at least it gives them a chance. And Chubbs has beaten this drum all offseason. If you don't want to lose the locker room, you play the best players that give you a chance to win. And right now, he is not doing that. No. And as I said, people are like, just railroading the defense, saying they're not good enough. I get the secondary, even beyond Eddie Jackson's struggles, who he needs to play much better as a guy that, is a Pro Bowl caliber talent and hasn't lived up to that. He even admitted that in one of his pressers before the season started, saying that he needs to be better. And tonight obviously wasn't a step in that direction. But, you've got Kendall Vildor. You've got, Marquis Christian, who I thought was decent at camp. Oh. He didn't have a good day today. Duke Shelley was inactive. And Jalen Johnson, while he can look good, he dropped that pick. It was right in his hands. That happens. But, obviously that's their weakest link on defense is their secondary. So
I feel bad for Sean Desai. I really feel bad for him. I know he's already taking a lot of crap from people on Twitter that I follow, that he's not tough enough on these guys, not just necessarily the guys on secondary, especially because he was a safety coach. Obviously, he knows Eddie and Gibson very, very well. I really feel bad for Desai. Being a minority guy, I root for people like that myself, and I just hope that
he's got to get back to the drawing
guys
board.
Accountable.
He's got to get back to the drawing board, but. This is an excuse I used to hear when Mitch was in, and it was acceptable to say this back then. Well, if they had a quarterback that was more consistent and kept the defense off the field more, maybe the defense could play better. I mean, I said a million times over the last 2 years, this defense, just like any defense, plays better when they have a lead. This defense is always playing from behind. They could have had a lead to start this game. They're about to start 7-0, and before you know it, they're losing 7-0. And they're on their heels.
Horrible. That just completely changed the complexion of the ball game. I know he said he was throwing to Mooney, but the fact that he didn't see the inside linebacker backing up and covering and tipping the ball just was just a completely erroneous error. A veteran should have known at least.
100%.
So yeah, that was upsetting. That really set the tone for the entire ballgame.
Right. So my theory is if they played with a lead more consistently, the defense could be more aggressive And maybe that'll open up more sack opportunities and open up more turnover, interception opportunities. But when you're always playing from behind, then your defensive coordinator can't call plays as aggressively. I mean, this is just me doing simpleton math.
No,
I can't prove this off tape. It's just a gut thing. 2018, they played with a lot of leads. Well, it's a trickle-down effect. The defense and the offense, rely on each other for that momentum. And, for 3 years now, it's inconsistent quarterback play. And now you have this guy that's, sitting on the bench ready to ignite this team. And my gut tells me when he comes in, you're going to see a spark from everybody. You'll see a pep in their step.
Absolutely.
It's human nature. Should they all play with a pep in their step no matter what? Absolutely. But it's human nature. When a guy like that, it'll rejuvenate them. That's what he needs to go to.
Sure.
And and like I said on Twitter, for the people that refuse to hear that out and say that the defense doesn't deserve any excuses and they're the reason they lost the game, I would not go that far when you're talking about an offense that only scores 14 points, 200 yards passing, and only 13 yards was the longest play downfield. As you said, the Rams are chucking it 50 yards deep as soon as we go on a 16-play drive. We're playing in the Stone Age, and all these other teams. You watch the Cowboys and the Buccaneers on Thursday night. Their defense is giving up touchdowns, but they're going back and scoring the other way. I mean, we always use the Chiefs as an example, and everybody wants to be the Chiefs, but you can't be because you don't have Mahomes. But the Browns have put a 30 spot on them. That doesn't make them flinch. They're going down and scoring touchdowns because they're getting vertical. So if Justin Fields can add dimensions, by being able to get out of the pocket and create plays that are broken plays or make plays with his feet, that's going to open up different plays downfield. 2018, Mitch Trubisky would run out of the pocket before he got hurt by Harrison Smith. Remember some of the scramble plays at the beginning of the year against the Patriots and different things? Well, you go back and look, they threw the ball downfield a lot that season, a lot. Sure. And that was because the defense couldn't just sit back and blanket across and keep everything in front of them because they didn't know where Mitch was going to go half the time.
Exactly.
And so that to me is what is going to happen when Fields comes in.
Right.
The question is, can Matt Nagy ever groom a quarterback to be a pocket passer in the offense that his mind believes it needs to be? That question, I don't know. I don't really care. I just want first downs. I want touchdowns.
Right.
I mean,
I want 30 plus points. Yes. I want 50, 60-yard bombs to Mooney without having to adjust his, himself. I've seen too many times A-Rob had to adjust to the throw that Mitch either overthrew or underthrew. We're well past that. We need to see some more explosive plays that Matt Nagy has been preaching. And if he doesn't practice what he preaches, he's going to lose the locker room quickly. Trust me. If next week when we play the Bengals, Dalton's former team, and we saw the Bengals play pretty legit today. I'm sorry.
Yep.
With Joe Burrow throwing to, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and then another receiver, Boyd.
Yep.
And listen, they can throw the ball. And they still have Joe Mixon who can run the ball lights out. He had almost 130 yards against the Vikings. So, and I tweeted just moments ago when I came before I came to the show. I wouldn't be shocked if I see some empty seats or some fans booing out because
they'll be booing as soon as they come out the tunnel.
Right, they've had enough of the
Chuck said,
Nagy
I don't know
BS
who the boos will be directed to. They should be probably directed at Nagy. They'll probably be directed at Dalton, because he'll become the sacrificial lamb because everybody wants the shiny new toy in Fields.
Sure.
But, and this is the funny thing to me, and I caught a lot of flack for this, but 2 years in a row now, I said that when we got Nick Foles, that he would be no different than Mike Glennon. People are like, you can't say that, that you don't have any football intelligence if you say something like that. Nick Foles has a Super Bowl MVP. Nick Foles had 30 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in a season. Nick Foles has a resume. Well, resumes don't transfer. It's what you do on the Bears. Just because he did that with the Eagles, with that offensive line, with that coaching staff, with that offensive system, doesn't mean that that's all going to transplant over to the Bears. And that's exactly how it played out. And now, this year, I say Andy Dalton's going to look no different than Nick Foles and Mike Glennon. Oh, you're crazy. It's the exact same thing. Maybe Andy Dalton has a little more mobility. I'll give the people that wanted to tell me I was way off my keister for suggesting that, Glennon equals Foles equals Dalton. To me, it's a different kind of suck. They're all a different kind of suck. And
Right.
You need that guy. Look at all the quarterbacks around the league that get up. Did you see Kyler Murray today slicing up the Tennessee Titans? That's the quarterback you need. And it just makes no sense to me to have Andy Dalton in there when it keeps your offense one-dimensional. And then the other thing that I got a lot of flack for, and me and Chubbs have had our sparring match on Twitter about it, for, about a week now, a few days at the very least. There's plenty of people that were saying Andy Dalton should start and we should wait with Justin Fields. There are plenty of people saying that, Chubbs. I'm not going to make the list of people saying that, but there are too many in my opinion. The other thing that I've been catching slack for, Stephen, and I want to get your thoughts on this because I do want to keep this show slightly short as I don't know what time zone you're in, but I'm in the Central time zone and we're approaching midnight. I wanted to start a little earlier, but as I said, I was cleaning up the garage and stuff, but we're not done anywhere close yet. But I just want to ask you this question. For me, my eyes are on get the best player in there, Justin Fields, to give your team the best chance to win. I had a feeling that the Bears were going to get shellacked week 1 against the Rams. That's what happened. I'm not happy that I was right about it. But 34-14 is a shellacking by definition. Now we enter week 2. Andy Dalton faces his former team. Would you rather the Chicago Bears, and this is how I'm going to paint it. I know we can go through all the different ways they can win, but this is how I'm going to paint it because this is the way I see this team. Would you rather them get shellacked once again by the Bengals, let Matt Nagy see all he needs to see, and enter Justin Fields as the starting quarterback from week 3 on and play the last 15 weeks of the season as the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears? Or would you rather the Chicago Bears beat the Bengals in what I would assume will be a relatively, a lot of good fortune. I don't want to call it luck because that's disrespectful, but a lot of good fortune going their way. And they squeak by, maybe similar to the 2017 Bears in week 2 when they played the Steelers and won in overtime with Mike Glennon, which extended his leash longer than it should have, regardless of what you thought of Trubisky. And now you're in that same situation. They squeak by the Bengals, and now we've got Andy Dalton for another week or 2. If you had to pick, which scenario would you rather take?
I remember that 2017 season, watching the Steelers versus the Bears, and I thought, okay, here we go, and then a few weeks later, we had Trubisky starting on Monday Night Football. And, that's a tough one. I want the Bears to win. My heart wants every fan, well, maybe with the exception of Danny Parkins, probably want the Bears to win. With or without, Fields or Dalton. But if it changes Nagy's ass on a hot seat and then maybe forces him to change his mind, then I'll probably have to pick the Rams.
See, what I compared it to jokingly in the garage was it's like when you have a kid, because I was a misbehaved kid growing up. And maybe my mom at times needed to see the light with her son. Your mom always wants to believe in you, right? My mom, mama's boy, everybody knows that knows me. My mom always had my back. She'd defend me in parent-teacher conferences when Greg caused a stir-up at school or on the bus. And one time I had to go into our bus drivers. I got in trouble on the bus. I got in a fight. And we had to go and have a meeting with the bus driver, my principal, and my mom. And there was a tape because they started putting cameras on the bus. And so I couldn't lie my way out of it. My mom saw it for all it was. There's her son misbehaving. And I almost compare it to that situation. It's like a parent that needs to see, that defends their kid tooth and nail, and they need to see, how bad their kid is so they can stop defending it. And to me, it's a similar situation. Nagy just needs to see it. And I'm already hearing people in the media. I'm not sure, I know watched some of Matt Nagy's post-game presser as we were getting ready for this show, but I'm hearing people insinuate that he had a good game. He had an okay game. No. And so, I don't want him to be fooled into thinking this plan should go any further. So I just want him to see how bad his kid is, how bad his plan is, as I say kid, because Dalton is no kid. He's an old, aging veteran. I want him to see how bad his plan is, so bad that he just makes the switch. And then the Bears have a legitimate shot to win games for the last 15 weeks of the season. And if they're just not good enough, then at least Justin Fields is getting the reps and the development on the field for the last 15 weeks, so he is ready for next year. To me, either way you slice it, I am of the belief that it would give the Bears an opportunity to win some games and possibly win this division. The whole division's 0-4 right now, so you're not out of anything. The Chicago Bears with Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles made the playoffs last year. They were pitiful last year. They lost 6 in a row at one point, and everyone should have been fired after the Packers game. And they still made the playoffs last year. There's an extra team that makes the playoffs in each conference now. There's an extra game for everybody on the schedule this year. So you don't play 16 games anymore. You play 17. So that's more of a buffer of an opportunity to get going after embarrassing yourself week one. I don't want this charade to carry on any longer. I wish Matt Nagy had the stones to put Fields in next week for the home opener. But he doesn't. I
don't want this shit to snowball into a point where we're 0-6 or 0-7 and, there's nothing to look forward to, and this is right now, I think, teetering on the brink of things getting out of control. You thought that Trestman year was bad? This could rival that. I really mean it. I think Nagy's credibility is shot, and I've said this many times. Does Matt Nagy want to be a head coach, or does he want to be a play call? And right now, I just don't think that he just can't get that shit out of his own system. And I want to bring up about David Hall's column earlier this week about when Justin Fields plays, it's not about Nagy's system. It's about his talent that will do the talking. Okay? Andy Reid never gloats about playing, Mahomes and how he makes me look smart. I don't hear that shit from Brian Daboll, who didn't have a great game, but still has Josh Allen, who, by far many people thinks that, he was an MVP caliber player last year.
Right.
And I don't think he never gloated about that. I don't think I've never heard Greg Roman, the OC from Baltimore, gloat about, my system works because of Lamar Jackson, so I'm the smartest guy in the room. I don't see that. And watching Nagy's press conference tonight and everything, I just think that Nagy just doesn't hold himself accountable enough. It's not about.
I heard Alex Brown say on the after show, why is he in such a chippery mood? You should be much more angry that you lost 34-14 than he appears to be in these post-game pressers. And it's always seems like it's damage control for Matt Nagy. And I get it's the first week of the season. You want to try to be positive in that regard. But, my favorite coach for the Chicago Bears in my lifetime is Lovie Smith. And the kind of attitude he would have walked up to the presser with. He was a no-nonsense, no excuses guy. And, you just wish at times Matt Nagy had some of that in him. Is he a player's coach? I think so, to an extent. I didn't love how the discipline, seemed to be a lack of discipline with last year's team. So I don't go as far to say he's the greatest players coach ever, because it's only half the battle when you're having fun doing club dub and you got the turnover bucket where you're dunking it in the sideline. that's half the battle. You also have to have the respect of the players where they aren't going to, fly off the beaten path. They're going to hold themselves accountable, and they respect their coach enough to where you almost kind of fear him a little bit. You don't want to get on his bad side, so to speak. And it doesn't feel like these guys have that with Matt Nagy. And, how many years? It's been 4 years now, right? This is year 4.
Right. This is his 4th year.
So it's time. Money on the table time. The Mitch excuse is gone.
Right.
It's all your cards are on the table now.
Sure. And I think he's holding on to the Justin Fields cards long enough that he wants to use it. He just doesn't want to relinquish it too early because, like I said in the David Hall's column, if Justin Fields balls out, it's not about him, okay? He wants to validate his own ego and in his system. It's not about developing Justin Fields. It's about him, unfortunately. And I think a lot of us here, and I don't know where you stand, Greg, he doesn't want Justin Fields to do too well. Remember the Tennessee game? There was some Charles Davis, CBS guy, was doing the Tennessee pregame show. He said he doesn't want Justin Fields to do too well. Well, my question is, what fucking coach doesn't want his players to do well?
Yeah,
I was like fucking speechless. Like, you don't want your employees to do well at your office? You don't want your employees to exceed above expectations? What the hell is that?
And Chubbs in the chat here echoes that sentiment. He says Matt Nagy doesn't want Justin Fields showing him up because he wants to be the reason. That's why he doesn't even let players pick captains. And, you hear that sentiment. Do I believe Matt Nagy doesn't want Justin Fields to have success? I don't know that seems crazy to me. Is he doing it indirectly or subconsciously? Possibly, because he's so steadfast in the plan that he has, and he'll be damned if anyone tries to deter him off said plan. And that's why I go back to the whole I'm rooting for disaster. So he has to see it. He's so stubborn that he has to see it, because there's no way he wouldn't take the success if he could get it. Does he not believe that Justin Fields can bring that success? And as you mentioned, Justin Fields is his last bullet that he's saving. And if Justin Fields comes out there and fails, that means Matt Nagy loses his job. I mean, could be, but if I'm a coach, I'm dying with that ship. Now, maybe he's gotten some assurances from George McCaskey that they have a couple years to get this figured out with Justin Fields, so he's using this year as a buffer. I mean, I laughed at John Fox and Dowell Loggins as they came out the tunnel in 2017, the first home game, second week of the season, playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Talked to George McCaskey outside the stadium. I'm like, play the kid. Quit with this Mike Glennon charade. Play the kid. Let's have some fun this year. You got Mitch Trubisky, Eddie Jackson, Tanner Gentry, and Tariq Cohen all lighting up camp. It was the first time camp was exciting in 8 years. And I was like, just play these kids. Mike Glennon's terrible. Just play the kids. And George McCaskey put his hands on my shoulders and he was like, just be patient. Be patient. And then I went to the tunnel. Dowell Loggins is coming out. And I had a very interesting discussion with him. I go, hey, Dowell, why don't you play the kid? And he turns around and he goes, what's that? I go, why don't you play the kid? I don't understand what you're doing. He walks up to me, and I couldn't believe it. He walks right up to me and goes, you think I don't want to play the kid? And I go, well, I don't know what you guys are doing, but all I know is, you keep this up, and you guys are all going to be out of a job, and next year some other coach is going to be reaping what you're sowing right now. So it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. And that's inevitably what ended up happening. John Fox refused to put the kid in. Maybe a player that he wasn't even in the conversation about, allegedly, about being picked. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to put the kid in. And then he ends up being fired anyway. Well, go down with the ship. At least give it a shot. You're not going to win your job back with trotting Mike Glennon out there. And I feel the same way. Matt Nagy, you're not going to win your job and keep your head coaching job trotting Andy Dalton out there each week and losing 34-14. It's not going to happen. So you might as well give the Justin Fields chip a shot.
But and if I'm going down, I'm going to go down swinging. And that's what Matt Nagy should be doing. And
Unless
like
he
I said,
has
the funny thing
that
is,
he's safe
if he's
after this
assured
year.
of it, why doesn't he play Fields and see what he can develop with? Great coaches.
There's no way to slice it that it doesn't make sense to start the kid.
Absolutely.
It doesn't. You're 100% right. It's silliness unless Matt Nagy has sat there in practice and seen that Justin Fields is so green that he can't handle it. Well, if he can't handle it, then why is he the backup quarterback with Nick Foles inactive? And at any rolled ankle moment for Andy Dalton, Justin Fields is your starter for every snap. You obviously trust him enough to be in that position. You trust him enough to give him snaps in the red zone and snaps in the middle of a drive. Well, if you trust him to those levels, we're all impatient. We're fans short from fanatical. So we want him now. But it has logic to it. It's not just because we're all incensed Bears fans. It has logic to it. Yeah, he got his head taken off.
Behind it.
He had his head taken off, sure. But it was with third string offensive linemen. Did he not read the blitz? Yeah, that's going to happen. Guys get hit in the NFL.
Exactly.
He got right back up and made a play the next play.
Right.
And now
welcome to the NFL moment. Yeah.
Right. And now you put him on a first team with the first team offensive line, a first team running back in your backfield, a first team offensive wide receivers, Darnell Mooney, Marquise Goodwin, Allen Robinson. To me, that's the play to make. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It makes no sense.
We could beat the drum till we're blue in the face. And I will continue to beat. That's all there is to talk about as Bears fans. So I get there's a lot of people like, Chris Armstrong, tailgated with her. She's great. She's a great Bears fan. I love her. I'll tailgate with her anytime. But she's like, enough with the hand wringing, enough with the pot stirring. Stop talking about it. Well, this is all we have to do. Okay, everybody shut down their podcast. Everybody get off Twitter for the next month until Fields comes in. I mean, I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. We're here to talk about it and try to make sense of this. And, Chubbs wants me to start the Fire Nagy chant next week. Now, listen, Chubbs, this is where you say I contradict myself in my, theory of rooting for scenarios, but you're contradicting yourself here by saying I should come out the gate next week chanting Fire Nagy. I should be rooting for Matt Nagy to figure this out. I should be rooting for Matt Nagy to wake up sometime this week and have an epiphany. Eureka! I need to start Justin Fields. And then the Bears start winning games and Justin Fields saves Matt Nagy's job. That's what I'm rooting for. So I'm not trying to go to Soldier Field next week with negative vibes and push those onto the team. This is a team that could compete in my eyes. Nobody thought this team could compete last year, and they made the playoffs and embarrassed themselves against the Saints. But I'd rather the Bears get into the playoffs backdoor if that's what it's got to be, and give Justin Fields, a chance to, get some playoff experience, even if it's with a bad football team that has no chance to win the Super Bowl. At least Justin Fields is getting some. I'm rooting for that. If all of you want to give up on a chance at the playoffs, have at it. Be my guest. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what scenario it's going to take for the Bears to get a fire lit under their ass.
I think if Mac or Hicks started to slam the helmets or just act in frustration, that might get some attention. The other really concerning thing that I saw tonight was just a bunch of dunking passes, like curl routes, just like under 10 yards. That 4th and 15 pass where the Bears passed the field.
Darnell Mooney. Short of the sticks.
And even if he made that catch, that was not even a first down. Like 4th and 15, and you're supposed to get a first down, and what the heck was that? I mean, you have speed. And Andy Dalton is just basically dinking and dunking his way, just like he's been doing in his entire career, even with T.J. Hushmanzada, Chad Johnson, and then A.J. Green at his arsenal. This is who he is. He's not a deep thrower. You have some speed on the receiver, and you're not going to utilize that? What's the point of getting these speedy receivers? You want to have more explosive plays. Explosive play means big plays, explosive plays means scores. We saw that with the Rams tonight. We saw that with Matthew Stafford. He's a much, he's the same guy that we faced when he was in Detroit. But with the Rams, he's going to put up some huge numbers, and I think we saw that tonight. I am not going to
the difference a coach makes and a scheme makes,
Right. Great coaches utilizes the talent in any sport. You don't put players into your system in a peg in a square hole and then say, you do this. And if you don't do this, you're a shit. That's not how it works. You work with what you have. Okay. And then you figure it out. Okay. What kind of players do I need to make it work?
Yep.
My system. This is his 4th year. He has no more excuses now. He's got what he wanted. He's got the quarterback that he wants to move up and got what he wanted it. So now, what is it that you're afraid of? What is it that's stopping you from playing him on a regular basis? Is it about maybe Fields getting a lot of accolades by playing well, and it has nothing to do with your system, as David Haw wrote in his 670 to score column recently? God, I hope not. And if you're butthurt about that kind of stuff, I tell you what, Nagy's just an insecure, son of a bitch, and that eventually people are going to finally get fed up with him. And I think there's going to be a mutiny. And I tweeted, at one point, do we start thinking about firing Nagy midseason and then put Mike Pettin as the interim head coach and then Bill Lazor as the OC and then maybe let Justin Fields do his thing the entire season? If I'm Ryan Pace, I'm going to be really
McCaskey will pull that. I don't think George McCaskey would ever pull that trigger. After last year, losing 6 in a row, losing to the Packers, that normal, a lot of owners, that would be their mark. And he let it play out. And then he still, after 2 straight 8-8 seasons, he was able to see the light into keeping him. And I just think that he's going to always try to push it as far as he can. Now, Trestman, he had the quick hook, fired him after year 2. And why? Because he completely lost the locker room. And I think you hit that on that point in this, because I think before the owner turns on him or his coaching staff turns on him, because his coaching staff is all handpicked by Nagy, so they're friends, I think it'll be the players. If the players turn on him, the fans have turned on him. The fans are fickle. We blow with the wind. If next week he starts Fields and they win by 2 touchdowns, we'll all be back in. I'll be back in. Chubbs will be in. But if the players turn on him, that's a totally different story.
Right.
And you can only go so far if the locker room is turned on you. And this is something I was talking about with Chubbs. I'm sitting there rooting for scenarios. You can't tell me that there isn't players on that team thinking to themselves right now, I hope Andy Dalton gets his face kicked in again next week, because I want Justin Fields to be my quarterback of my team, because I'm sick of going out there with an offense that can't get points, that can't give me a lead for me and my defense. And I got to go out there every fucking game and play behind and have to try to hold on for dear life. And
right. And gas and get gassed all the time. Yeah.
And it's a pointless exercise, because then the offense still isn't going to do anything if we do get a stop. It's human nature. Is it right? Sure. No, they're professional athletes. They get paid to play regardless of how the teammate across from them is playing, but that's how it works. And so, I do think there's players sitting there at home. Nobody's going to actively try to lose or throw the game, although, some would say Aaron Rodgers today, some were accusing him of throwing the game the way he was playing out there. I mean, there's another case of human nature. He's sick of playing in Green Bay. It kind of looked like it today, didn't it?
He did. Yeah,
I tweeted out now,
maybe that playing in Jacksonville.
We can't prove it, but when he's chucking that ball 60 yards downfield and it's 20 feet over the receiver's head and it's for an interception, and you're sitting there like, boy, that doesn't look like the Aaron Rodgers I know. Is he giving up because he's sick of playing with the Packers? Well, I mean, that's a legitimate
question. Yeah, it's a legit question
when you consider everything that's happened this offseason. And I believe it's a legitimate question to ask. has the defense already said, you know what, until you put Fields in, screw it? I mean, you already saw all the players get so excited the moment Justin Fields was drafted. So you can't tell me they're not excited for this guy to play. Then the question is, you hear it a million times from other veterans, on Twitter or in the media saying the locker room knows. They know who the best player is. Well, if we're all sitting there saying it's Justin Fields, I'm sitting there telling you what I saw at camp in the preseason games, it was Justin Fields. Well, the players know that too. So they can only go out there and win one for the Gipper and Andy Dalton so much. And when Andy Dalton throws a pick on the first drive of the game, right after Justin Fields had just came in, it's human nature to go, man, fuck this shit. I mean, that's it. That's not great. That's not good chemistry. But at the end of the day, that's human nature. So put the kid
It's like a groundhog days for the defense.
Maybe the interception hit the ground. Regardless, it was a bad throw. And how many times did we used to count almost interceptions for Mitch? He had a good handful of almost interceptions in this game as well. Those are also demoralizing. So
it is.
Like I said,
I'm tired. I'm tired of that too. Yeah. We're tired of getting demoralized because we can't execute a fucking offensive game plan without calling a timeout in the middle of a game when we're running like we did on that first drive. And it's just mind-boggling that 4 years of this, we just can't seem to get any shit together with Matt Nagy under Matt Nagy's tenure. It's very, very underwhelming.
And I got called a truther for this stuff for 2 years. Chris Bleck and Adam Nadala turning it into a bit. Waddle and Sylvie turning it into a bit with me and Mitchell and Displains, saying, Braggs is just a Mitch Trubisky ball washer because he's saying that the play calls don't make sense, that the offensive line isn't holding up their end of the bargain, that the receivers aren't, they had drop issues in the past. And, all these things are connected. Then the defense lets go of the rope because they're sick of dealing with the offense. And it's an entire trickle-down effect, but we all wanted to lay everything at the feet of Mitchell Trubisky. Well, once we get Mitch out of here, everything will be okay. You would have thought Bears fans would have learned their lesson when Nick Foles came in, and it got worse. They lost 6 in a row. I get he won some miracle games to start when he first came in, but once they lost 6 in a row in Matt Nagy's offense with Matt Nagy's handpicked guy that everyone promised me was going to be a point guard and would be able to read the defense and execute the plays and get the passes out on time. Didn't happen because, again, as I said earlier, resumes don't transfer over. Just because you did something with another team doesn't mean everything's going to be all hunky-dory with the Bears. And Andy Dalton's no different. Did he have a solid career with the Bengals? I guess. I didn't think it was all that. He has never won a playoff game, can't win in the prime time. He's won a few games. He had A.J. Green, had a little bit of a running game. The Bengals have always been they're like the Lions of the AFC. I'm not was never that excited to get Andy Dalton, who was basically a replacement for Foles in that bad trade for a 4th round pick. You're just putting a Band-Aid on top of a Band-Aid on top. Screw that. As I said last year when we got Foles, just stick with Mitch. Don't fuck with Foles. Don't even get Foles. Then you save yourself a 4th round pick. You just stick with Mitch, see what happens at the end of the year. If he's not good enough, get rid of him. Instead, they got Foles, wasted their time, wasted a 4th round pick. Now this year, they got to put a Band-Aid over the Foles mistake and get Andy Dalton, pay him $10 million. Then you can't pay that to another free agent, whoever it be, Kyle Fuller, whoever. And now we have holes other places because we got to get the $10 million mistake for Andy Dalton. and meanwhile, they should just be playing the kid, who they got very lucky, very fortunate that he was even there to begin with, and take that gift and use it, and unless there's, like, as we said, assurances that we don't know about, and we can't predict that. So we don't know what's being said behind closed doors, but all I know is, this kid, he's got it. It when you see it. I've said that a million times.
He knows it.
He's got it. You can see it. when he had a few snaps, and then you see him on the sidelines with his helmet on, locked in. After the touchdown, he's looking at the tablet and looking at his plays.
Tablet, yes.
I know that's what any quarterback would do, but just how it looks right. And I just can't say it enough. And so I had to come on tonight, because we all got work tomorrow, and it was getting late. We had a fun party over here. A lot of friends came over. It was a lot of fun. Trey Tunes and the whole gang. Trey Busy,
Sure.
and Eric, who's in the chat. It was a lot of fun tonight. And, was the outcome what we wanted? No. Did the defense hold up their end of the bargain? No. But what we did see was Justin Fields' first career touchdown. There's our guy, Terrence Young, and his wife, Karen, who got that shot. Few suggestions
first
for
of many.
people. I'm excited next week to get his second career touchdown. I was really hoping, he got it first week, so I ain't going to complain, but, a waste of a game. They lose 34-14. I was really hoping that I could capture his first career touchdown, and doing my magic with my camera, getting the right angle. But, Brandon and Terrence did a nice job. I've got a few suggestions for those of you watching. If you're going to try to capture a moment at the game, make sure your lens is always clean. Something I always do before I hit record is I'll clean my lens, because, you get finger smudges on it, and then it looks a little, glossy. That's step one.
Right.
Step two, use that zoom camera, zoom in. All these phones have great capabilities now. Zoom in so you get the best shot you could possibly get from whatever vantage point you're at. Now, obviously, you don't want to zoom in too much or the clarity gets distilled. But zoom in, and then the other thing, in both these videos, and I love Brandon and Karen, and I appreciate you guys capturing some fan in the stands moments, because that's what it's all about here at Brags in the Stands. Keep the camera rolling. After he scores, don't just hit end. We want to see him come off the field. We want to see the players, in the interaction he gets on the sidelines, who comes up to talk to him. So keep that camera rolling. For those of you that are watching that, want to capture a moment and we share it here on the show, just some friendly suggestions, but hey, I know what I do, and Steven got to see it firsthand experience when he came for the Bears-Dolphins preseason game. Not everybody's like Braggs. Not everybody's going to run around and try to capture the perfect shot and share it to the world. And I completely understand that. Most people are going to the game to enjoy it for what it is and be there in the moment. And I'm spoiled rotten. I go to all these home games. I go to all these different games. So, to me, it's just another, dime a dozen. So I want to try to capture the moment. Obviously, that's what we do here at Brags in the Stands. So a little different, but I'm just saying, if you're already going to the trouble, you're capturing the moment, you're tagging me and putting it on Twitter, which I really appreciate, just some friendly suggestions to try to add to the moment. It was a great thing to see him get in the end zone tonight. Obviously, one of many more to come. This guy's got the real deal, Holyfield, package. Maybe next week we see some plays like this. We didn't see this tonight, Steven. All his plays were, end arounds or shovel passes or a run, RPOs. We didn't get to see him throw down field. So maybe that's the next step in this very slow process and plan that Matt Nagy has for Justin Fields. It'll be interesting. But, me and my good friend Nick Verha, who's originally from Germany, he's going to school now here in the United States. He'll be at the game with me next week for Bears Bengals. So he's flying in Friday. We're going to go to the Cubs game in Milwaukee and then hang out for the weekend. And we'll be going to the game on Sunday. And you can bet your ass that we'll be in the Tunnel of Love. Steven got to hang out by the tunnel with me before the game, against the Dolphins in the preseason. I always love to get a shot like this as these guys are coming out. It's always one of the cooler moments. I wish they'd come down the tunnel a little further, like hiding up in the tunnel where I can't be over them and hear what they're saying to each other. But, regardless, it's a great shot. And always something I enjoy doing when I go to the games. A lot of fans like to stay out and tailgate as much as they can. You see the stadium's pretty fairly empty in the background. And that's because most fans are trying to get every last beer they can get in before they get into the stadium before kickoff. Me, I like to get in and capture some fun shots. And that's what we'll be doing next Sunday. Bears, Bengals, a noon kickoff. No Sunday night football embarrassment for us. Hey, I'm not a pro either. We're all just faking it till we make it out here, Eric.
Yeah,
so
I'm not a pro either. And I'm about to start a new show with the help of Aldo Gandia on the Barroom Network in a couple of days, or maybe within a week. I'm actually starting a brand new show.
Nice. Congratulations. Why you want, is that just a little tease, or you want to, delve in a little more of what it's going to be about?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm starting a brand new show with the help of Aldo Gandia, who is the founder and editor of Barroom Network, which you're familiar with, Greg. And
yep.
I'm getting help from a gentleman by the name of Ken Fang, who is the associate editor of the popular sports media website, Awful Announcing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure you're familiar with Awful Announcing.
Absolutely.
Many of people out there.
Yeah.
So the show right now, I think it's somewhat titled, it's called the Double A Team. AA stands for Asian American, because Ken and I are both Asian Americans. And we wanted to talk about, the state of the industry in both sports and entertainment, and the diversity that it still lacks in light of the AAPI racism in this country during the pandemic. And for those of you who don't know what AAPI stands for, it's for Asian American Pacific Islander, shortened for. So we wanted to bring in people who work in the industry. We got pretty good guests lined up already to talk about their experience within the industry. And we're also going to talk about sports as well. We have, among others, Ben Koo, who is the actual owner and editor of Awful Announcing. We also have Melissa Kim, who used to be the Packers TV reporter up until last year. She now covers Baltimore Ravens network. The Bears and the Ravens play later this year, so we can talk about that as well. And Ryan Sakamoto, who is the Bay Area-based Japanese American football writer,
sure,
covered the 49ers, and obviously we can talk a lot about Trey Lance and Justin Fields' career trajectory, so forth. So we do have a pretty good guest list up, and then we also once we get to Michael Yam, who is the NFL Network host and reporter, he's also coming on as well.
Nice.
Yeah. So we have a pretty good list of people that we have reached out to. It's not going to be too political, but it's an important issue. That's one of the reasons or driving force we decided to start the show. Aldo liked the idea, and we want to talk about it openly. And Greg, I hope to have you on the show as well down the road about your humble beginnings to where you are, how you got to where you are, and where do you see yourself going.
Anytime you ever need my help, I'm always happy to. Steven, you're a good friend. Chubbs, I don't know if he'd say it's humble beginnings. He thinks everything's about me, as he says here in the chat. But I'm always there to lend a helping hand, especially to you, Steven. Right. You're a good man. So I wish you the best of luck here in your new endeavor, and congratulations to you. And that's what it's all about. Hey, you're passionate about something. Start it up and see what happens. That's what I did here, in the last few years, diving into this and then deciding, hey, I want to try to do this on my own, and I'm passionate about sports, and let's see where it can go from here. And, if you're genuine about who you are, that's how it's always going to come. The feedback's always going to be positive, because, people can sense genuineness. And if you're not being genuine, then, people sense that as well. And that's where it falls flat. So, you're a very genuine guy. I've hung out with you a few times, and, I'm sure, I wish you all the success, but I'm sure you'll have no problem finding it. So, But
Thank
yes, anytime you ever need any help or me to come on and babble about bullshit, I'm more than happy to do that.
Thank you.
Again, congratulations to you. It sounds like you guys got
Right.
a rock and roll guest list here coming up. So,
Thank you, Greg. Really appreciate it. You've been an inspiration. I'm a dude in my mid 40s. Working in a corporate world. I'm single. Sometimes it can be boring talking about sports with somebody that really doesn't care much about in my community, because there aren't that many people that we can look up to that looks like us, with the exception of Jeremy Lin in the past, and now Shohei Ohtani, obviously. And so there are a lot of things
the next
to talk
Babe
about.
Ruth and Ohtani. Holy crap!
Right.
Is that guy
what
amazing?
A season he's having. But he's been a subject of some controversial remarks by Stephen A. Smith, of course, and then here locally where I am in Detroit, the Hall of Famer Jack Morris made some weird Asian American accents about facing Shohei Ohtani, which he got suspended and just recently got out of suspension, and having to apologize for what he had said. So it's something that people like us we face with.
I think we still have a long way to go, when it comes to sensitivity, as far as understanding what is and isn't offensive to people. I mean, there is a line, and I think, you always have to, try to take a step back and understand where a person's trying to come from, even if it doesn't come off as well. But at the same time, people need to put thought into what they say or what they tweet, and you should be always held accountable or responsible for your words. So, it's just a dialed up time politically and racially in this country. And, when you have people, to me, the guys I work with, they're hard-nosed guys, and construction site, when you got a lot of different guys talking a lot of shit. But one thing I learned is the more you talk about it, the better understanding where people are coming from. So if you're not talking at all and there's no dialogue, then you're really never going to get anywhere. And
that's the whole purpose of starting this show, because we wanted to put ourselves out there. We want to expose ourselves. I'm not polished. I'm not polished like you are. I'm just somebody who enjoys talking. Well, but you've been doing it for a while, and so obviously with the internet and the YouTube and all other podcasts, anybody can do this. And hey, if I can do it, hopefully maybe this will probably force other people to say, hey, if that guy can do it, well, I can do much better. If I can be that guy, to push yourself. Yeah. Sure.
Social media giving people a voice. I mean, that's
exactly
that's what it is. And
anybody can do it.
I always wanted to be in sports media. Never thought in a million years that I could be. And then I realized, hey, I have this platform right here in front of me. Did I think anybody would ever want to listen to me? Nope. But you know what?
Right.
I've always tried to stay true to myself, and it's gotten me this far. How far it'll take me, who knows? Not really worried about that.
Yeah, to me, I don't know where.
The number one thing is just to have fun, and if things fall your way and opportunities present themselves, then take them and keep climbing that ladder that way. But always, first and foremost, try not to take yourself seriously and just try to have fun with it and stay true to yourself. That's kind of some of my rules. And, Eric's having fun with me here. No, Greg is not polished at all. And Chubbs, he's always got the jokes, and saying I'm polishing knobs in the media. You know what? You guys are real funny characters, but we appreciate you guys tuning in. Late night show, so everybody's already asleep, drowning in their sorrows from a terrible, 34-14 Bears loss. But we got to see Justin Fields get in the end zone, which is only going to fire up this conversation, dial it up more and more to see where this takes us here in the coming weeks. And, it
puts more onus on Nagy and his entire staff, too.
Exactly right. And, ultimately, as Chubb said, it's all about me. And I predicted the Bears would start 0-2, and then Justin Fields would play week 3. At least that was a scenario that I was rooting for, and we're halfway there. So after they start 0-2, I'll be able to tell Chubbs I told you so a little more, and then he'll say all you care about is being right, and then Justin Fields will come in, and then we can just rejoice in the fact that Justin Fields is our quarterback, and we'll probably go like 12-3 the rest of the way when Justin Fields comes in, because then the eternal I'm like gloom and doom,
Yeah,
root for the Bears to
optimistic
lose,
too.
Steven.
I like
but
to be.
then when Justin comes in, I'm going to completely flip the script and then be picking the Bears to win every week in the midway minute with my guy Kevin Kadick, who I'm entering picks for this year once again, and I always appreciate his support. So I think that about wraps it up for tonight's show. We've beaten our head against, of course, I appreciate you coming on. Johnny B, my co-host, he was in Kansas City for the Chiefs game today, so I'm sure he's celebrating a big win against Cleveland. They almost lost, but you can never keep Patrick Mahomes down for too long, and they showed that once again today. And Trey Tunes, another co-host of mine here on the show, he came over tonight, so he's driving home right now, and he couldn't be a part of it. And then another guy that's starting to become a part of this show, Terrence Young, who's just as much a fan in the stands as Braggs is in the stands. This guy goes to every game, home and road. He was at the game at SoFi Stadium here tonight, and got to witness that beat down firsthand. It was his birthday, so he was in LA, enjoying that. So, I'm excited to get.
That stadium is incredible. That stadium looks incredible.
It really is. And for fans that think that we don't deserve something like that as Bears fans, I'm sorry, you're crazy. You can
right.
You can have.
I'll throw in some facts here. SoFi was built on the old Inglewood horse racing track. So, and that's where the Clippers are building their brand new arena as well. You know the Bears story, right? The Bears are trying to maybe force their way to Arlington Heights and, playing that brand, maybe buy that land at the Arlington, where Arlington Millions, they run every summer, the horse racing track. Mm-hmm. I could actually watching that game tonight, and I'm thinking, imagine if the Bears build a stadium.
Could you imagine? And the house that Fields built, that's what they'll call it one day.
Yeah.
We got a question
Manning
in the
literally
chat.
saved the Colts from moving from Indianapolis when the Colts built Lucas Oil Stadium.
Exactly right. So
what does it say? What's Stevens?
Yeah, he wants to know your handle on Twitter.
Okay, my Twitter is Asian Sports 1. That's the number 1 on my Twitter. A and S and the F are capital. Asian Sports Fan 1 on Twitter. So I appreciate it.
I'll share his handle along tomorrow when I recirculate the show, and I'll tag Steven in it, and that's where you can also find it here tomorrow, and look out for that, Eric. That's going to be I know he's probably got notifications turned on, so
appreciate it.
And Chubbs, I did put it on Twitter. Who wants to come on and bullshit? So you were more than welcome. I didn't realize I had to ask you personally. But you know what, Chubbs? We've been arguing so much on Twitter. Maybe we should just save it for another day, or we would have gone another 2 hours tonight. And it's already approaching 1 a.m. now. So I'm going to get to bed. I got to lay the bricks here in the morning. We got a big brick garage we're doing where oh my God, Eric the Snake already making waiver moves. He's in our fantasy league, and he's already making waiver moves. But I got a brick garage to finish off tomorrow. It's a pretty sweet garage, Steven. It's like a James Bond garage. So it's an elevator garage. So it's a 2-car garage, and when you pull in, there's an elevator. So the floor lifts up, and then you can park 2 cars underneath the cars above it. So and then the floor pushes back down. So pretty cool stuff that we're working on right now, and we're going to finish it up tomorrow, and maybe move on to the next house.
Thanks for having me tonight.
Of course.
I'm actually battling some sore throats and coughing
you
all day
great
today. But I had a little bit of phlegm that I had to spit out before the show. But thank you for having me. And thanks for the advice, and I look forward to having you on our show when it launches and in the near future.
Absolutely. And congrats again. And you
Thank
got
you,
my
Greg.
full support. And anytime you
Thank
need
you.
a helping hand, you just let me know, Steven.
Absolutely.
So
Will do,
again, that wraps things up for tonight. Thanks again, Steven. I'll put you backstage here as we close this thing out. Keep on the lookout as we try to get this show back on the tracks, but Johnny B's out of town right now. So talk to him about doing our weekly show here this week. I shared his Johnny B for 3 picks on Twitter here earlier today before the games got started. We didn't get to do our regular Friday show this week because he was already on a plane out to Kansas City by Friday. So, a lot going on. So we hope to get back to our normal scheduling programming here at Brags in the Stands. So just keep on the lookout. Try to bring on some fun guests to talk about more Justin Fields and just keep beating our heads against the wall until the kid comes in. And then we'll get to talk about his development. And at least if the Bears are losing, we'll have that much to talk about. But until then, all we're talking about is when he's going to get in. And that just seems to be all there is. We can talk about the defense. We can talk about Matt Nagy's consistently bad, approach to play calling, head coaching. None of it seems to matter until the kid gets in. But maybe that's the simpleton way of looking at it. But, hey, this is a simpleton show. We're all just fans in the stands here at Brags in the Stands. So, this is about as good of the coverage as we're going to give you. Next Sunday, I'll be at the game. So when we do a post-game show, when I get back from home, you'll get to see some of the sights and sounds. I'll share with you some video and pictures like we've been sharing here tonight from previous games. So maybe give you an inside bird's eye view to what's going on inside Soldier Field for the home opener. Bears versus Bengals. Andy Dalton facing off versus his old team. We shall see how it goes. Chubb's already given away upset picks. Raiders tomorrow winning. And how about those Arizona Cardinals beating the Tennessee Titans today? Talk about an upset. What a game. Great to see football back on the TV. Fans in the stands, full capacity. I know we got a lot going on with all the crazy COVIDness never leaving our lives, but just refreshing to turn on TV and see football back to its normal state. And, excited to get back to Soldier Field next week. Full capacity, first regular season game in over 2 years. Just, my home away from home. So certainly can't wait to get back there and give you guys the best coverage I can possibly give you. So appreciate everybody's support. Just having fun here at Brags in the Stands. We'll continue to, keep the shows rolling along. And again, thank you to everybody tuning in tonight. And shout out to our sponsors here. Before I go, I kind of forgot to do that maybe to start the show. But, my guys over at Fanbags Cornhole always giving the love here at Brags in the Stands. So I got to make sure I give them the proper shout out. You can use the promo code Brags as you see at the bottom of the screen to get your boards. We were playing on them today, custom made boards. You can get any type you want. And that's what's the great thing about Fanbags. So this post-game show was brought to you by Fanbags Cornhole, Chicago's official supplier of professional cornhole boards and bags. Choose from any of their officially licensed designs or have my boy Brian design a custom set using anything from a selfie to your company's logo. Visit www.fanbagscornhole.com and use the promo code BRAGS to get 10% off your entire order. That's www.fanbagscornhole.com and use the promo code BRAGS for 10% off. Step up your game with Fanbags Cornhole. How you like that? So, and then also I've got to give my guys a shout out at the Collector's Cave. Next week they got an RV. They're going to be tailgating with me at the corner of Wabash and Cermak. They want people to join us for the tailgate. So if anybody's watching this and is interested in joining us for the tailgate, contact me. And we're going to be tailgating hard with the Chicago Bears Tailgating Club bright and early, like I said, at the corner of Wabash and Cermak. But it's a private lot, so make sure you contact me if you want to hop in and join us on the RV and cook some good food like we were cooking today here at the Brags residence. Drago Bobs and everything else. It was a lot of fun. But the Collector's Cave, if you visit www.thecollectorscave.com, you can get all your sports memorabilia needs. for all your famous, all your favorite Chicago athletes and athletes nationwide. And keep on the lookout for their public autograph signings and meet and greets. They have a couple big ones coming up. Andre Dawson, September 18th at Indiana Beach. And then also Miggy Montero and Aramis Ramirez right around the corner in October. And Jeff Blum from the Chicago White Sox in November are some of the announced public signings, and many more announcements to come. So, again, that wraps things up here at Brags in the Stands. Wanted to give my guys a shout out. How'd you like the ad read? Hey, not polished, but doing my best over here, Eric. So I appreciate you cheering me along as I tried to spit that out. But that wraps things up for the 9,000th time here. This is Brags in the Stands. We will catch you later this week. Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen. And always, bear down.